Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to dive into another great conversation about how organizations are driving real growth and impact in today's world. Today, I'm joined by Keith, partner at Amplify Partners, a team of consultants and advisors who work with nonprofits and foundations to help them plan, innovate, and fund more efficiently. Keith, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to hearing about your work, what's changing in the nonprofit world, and how Amplify is helping organizations navigate that change. So let's get started. Keith, could you tell us a little bit about your background and your role with Amplify Partners?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. So I'm a partner at Amplify Partners. And as you said, we work with nonprofits, and our goal is really to help them achieve their goals, to help them reach their dreams. I spent 25 years running nonprofits, so sitting in the seat that many of our clients are sitting in. And I have a good understanding as a result of that of what their challenges are, where their opportunities really can be, and how we can help them to achieve their goals, to reach for their dreams. The people that I get to work with, my partners, all are C-suite executives who have 20 plus years experience running nonprofits, being in the nonprofit space. So we bring lots of different skills, lots of different talents to the table. And one of the things I really love is different partners have different skill sets. So I get to pick who the best one is to work on each piece of an organization's goals and bring them in so the organization really gets the best in each section that they need help with, not a best overall, but different areas aren't necessarily so good. So for me, it's a lot of fun. I get to wake up every day and help make a difference in the world.
That's amazing. You work with such a wide range of nonprofits and foundations. What kind of challenges are they usually facing when they first come to you?
So depending on where they are in their organizational growth will really depend on what they're looking at. So we've got clients that are literal startups that have only been around for 6 months to a year, as well as those that are major national organizations that have tremendous infrastructure. And so it really differs. From a 30,000 foot view, most of the time they're looking in a couple of areas. They're looking at their organization, how their organization's structured, and asking questions, is this the best way for us to be structured to accomplish our goals? We have other clients that come to us that are really looking at what should their strategic plan be? Who is it that they want to be in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and what type of path do they need to lay out in order to get there? What should their staffing look like? What should their board look like? Do they have the right type of people on their board? We get a lot who come to us that need help with fundraising, that need help with development, that they don't understand what the structure looks like. Can you help us create a case for support? Can you help us create a development plan? Sometimes they want us to be major gift officers for them, to get them really going. And then, as you said earlier, our goal is to teach. So our goal is not to become their major gift officers or to become their chief development officer for the long haul. It's to be able to help them while they get everything set up so that they can hire somebody and be self-sustainable, not just depending on us for the long haul. We get plenty on the philanthropic side who are trying to figure out, how do I manage my philanthropy? So I like to give a lot, but I don't really have any strategy behind it. I don't know how it is that I'm assessing the impact of my philanthropy. Where do I want my focus to be? And what are the best tools to be able to manage my philanthropy? So for us, it really is everything related to the nonprofit world, from the donor to the organization and how the organization's structured.
Amazing. Take us back to kind of the beginning of your time with Amplify. How did you land your very first client? What did that look like?
So that's a great question. And I think it has to do with a bigger question, a bigger picture view of who are you and what do you stand for? Having run nonprofits for 25 years, I worked with many different consultants, and some were really fantastic and some did an okay job. The real key is being clear on what the deliverables are going to be. And so as I began with Amplify and as I began reaching out to potential clients, everything was about listening to them first. What is it that they really need? I typically spend an hour plus talking with a potential new client, just listening to what their challenges are and taking lots of notes. And then following up, did I did I get it? Did I hear correctly where your challenges are and what you're really looking for? and then moving towards a formal proposal that is very, very clear what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, what the deliverables are going to be, when they're going to see the deliverables. So it's not broad, it's not generic. And landing my first client was wonderful because it was exactly that. This is what the client needed. This is the challenge they were facing. This is how I could help. There were a couple different key aspects that they wanted some insight into. And it was a really successful engagement because they got exactly what they wanted. And at the end, when they look back, they're able to see, yes, this is what I wanted. This is what I needed. This is what I got. And I think that's really critical in this consulting world, in this day and age, that it's very, very clear in writing, what is it that you're going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you find those first clients? What does that outreach look like? Is it inbound? Are they coming into you? Is there a network of organizations that you tap into? How do you find those clients? The prospects, I guess.
Right. So there's a couple different ways. First is, running nonprofits for 25 years, you build a network, you build a reputation. And so when people learn that you're in the space, they begin to reach out. There are referrals. So people that I've worked with in the past will talk to me and say, hey, I know this organization. I think it'd be great for you to talk with them. They might be able to use your services. You might be able to help them. And then there's putting things out, particularly in social media, using some of the normal kind of channels about who you are, what you're doing, and talking about the clients you work with. And then people will come to you and say, hey, I see that you're working with them. Can I talk with you? So it's a combination of inbound, outbound. It's a combination of highlighting the work that you're doing as well as using the network that you have and really being in a lot of places, constantly talking about who you are, and really showing that passion. So it is really critical. I know for me, when I decided I wanted to work in this space, it became clear that I needed to have some guidelines for myself. I needed to have some parameters because some people will work with anybody. And after 25 years, I wanted to be able to be choosy. And so I set up 3 kind of rules for myself that really have guided me along this journey. And the first is I only work with people that I like. The second is I only work on projects that I find interesting. And the third is we're only going to do it the right way. And if an organization doesn't meet all 3 of those, I'm just the wrong person to work with them. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It's just I'm not the right fit. And I'm more than willing to say, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. And I think that also helps when you're working to gain business because you're not just taking anything that comes in. If I'm not the best person, if we're not the best to give the outcome that they want, then we shouldn't take them on and we should help them find somebody who will be the best.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that's hard to do. I know you're really delivering a lot for your clients when you totally believe in them and know that you can deliver for them.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's zoom out a bit and talk about what's happening across the nonprofit and philanthropic world right now. What trends are you seeing lately, whether it's around leadership development, fundraising, or how organizations are thinking about growth and sustainability?
So one of the big challenges right now is staff. And you see there's a lot of staff openings. There's a big need for quality professionals. And there's a dearth of them. The nonprofit sector has not done a really good job over the last decade or so in growing our future leaders. So it used to be that you could look at an organization and you could see a really good bench. You don't really see that really good bench anymore. So it becomes a challenge. Where are we finding our next people? How are we identifying who they are? And how can we bring them to us? COVID really helped people take a look at what matters to them and what's important to them. And so what they're looking for also is different. So it used to be easy to find somebody from another organization. Now it's not so easy because they take a look at things and they say, I don't want to move. I like being able to work remote. It's a great environment where I work now. Do I really want to take a risk? And so staffing's a big challenge. And it's one of the areas we are doing a lot of work in terms of some of that interim staffing to help people get through the time period while they do a good quality search so they can find the right person. Otherwise, people turn over way too quickly. We see this a lot in the development space. Fundraising professionals are hard to find, and when they're good, somebody else comes in and wants to steal them away, offering them significantly more money because they're worth it. And so how you're able to identify them and how you're able to keep them. And that becomes a big part as well when we talk about the challenge in organizational culture, which is a big challenge in the nonprofit world because people look at the nonprofit world and expect it's a nonprofit, so everybody makes less money. And it's true, you do make less money in the nonprofit world than in the for-profit world, but it's more because of the structure, not because of the value. And if you're not valuing your people well, you lose them. From a philanthropic point of view, it's an interesting time because the market is doing very, very well. So your high-end donors are doing very, very well. Your lower end donors, which are really the base of your pyramid, the lifeblood of every organization, aren't necessarily doing as well. And so they're becoming much more picky in where they're giving or if they're giving. And the stewardship becomes really, really critical. And it's a challenge because there's a lot of organizations that aren't doing good stewardship. And you'll see a lot, particularly from some of the leaders in the field who are talking about, look, it's easier to keep the donors that you have than go find new ones. And that stewardship piece is really,
Mm,
really critical. And
mm.
people also want to see what the impact is. They want to know and have data, not just anecdotal stories. And so how are organizations able to show their impact to their donors, particularly their higher end donors, so that they will continue to invest and they will continue to see the value in it? If you're not able to show those metrics, particularly for, I would say, the 30 to those in their 50s, they want to see metrics. They don't want to hear great stories. They don't want to just show them pictures of your impact. They want to see data, and how you use data is also really, really critical. And then the last piece is how nonprofits are using AI and how should they use AI, and particularly in the development world. I heard an expert in the field make the comment that AI will not replace development professionals, but development professionals who use AI will still have jobs, and development professionals who don't use AI are not going to have jobs. And so how AI plays into an organization's structure, their fundraising efforts, their communication efforts, their planning, everything that they do is another critical area.
So just to kind of pivot back to some of the other exciting things that we were talking about with the work that you do with Amplify, I'd love to hear a quick success story if you have one, maybe an example of a nonprofit or foundation you've worked with where the change was really tangible. What do you think? Do you have an example of that? And what do you think made that engagement so successful?
So yeah, I'm going to give you two that deal with two different types of work that we do.
Okay.
So with one, it was a school that was looking to do a non-traditional campaign. So it wasn't an annual campaign. It wasn't a true endowment campaign. It was kind of like a hybrid. And they weren't sure what they'd be able to do. They weren't sure how much they'd be able to raise. They weren't sure if they were on the right track in terms of messaging. And so we did a feasibility study for them. We were able to create for them a case for support that clearly indicated what they were doing, why they were doing it, that it was a non-traditional campaign, why it was a non-traditional campaign, what they hoped to see, what the timeline was, and then took and shared that with donors, with potential donors, to get their buy-in. And we were able to get significant buy-in. We were able to get a good idea of how much they were going to be able to raise, and from that, we were able to give them a number that said, based on this, this is what we think you're going to be able to raise, which wasn't quite the number that they'd hoped for. However, the work that we did working with the donors inspired one of them to quadruple what we had initially put in for their gift, which meant now they could accomplish their goal. And they went out to do the campaign and were successful with the campaign. They were able to reach their goal. They were able to clearly communicate to their constituency what they were doing, why they were doing it, what the impact would be. They raised the money, and now they're in the process of actually implementing what they said they would do if they had the money. So for me, that's wonderful because we were able to give them the tools that they needed in order to be successful. They didn't need us to run the campaign for them, which was great. They had everything they needed. They ran the campaign. They were successful. So it's not an all-in-one that we have to do it all, which also I think is a big success.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also had another client that was in more of the startup stage, and we were able to take them through, getting a 501(c)(3) in the United States, setting up a board, setting up, a finance committee, a development committee, really putting the infrastructure in place so that they could be successful long term. Doing some coaching, executive coaching work with their CEO, and they're doing amazing work, and have funding in place to make them sustainable, and are now able to continue raising more money because they have the infrastructure in place, and the work that they're doing is very impactful, and they're able to share it much better. And we helped them with a specific fundraising campaign where they exceeded their goal, which was exciting to see. They significantly exceeded their goal, and they were able to clearly say, this is what we're going to accomplish. This is what your money will fund. And they went out and raised the money and did what they say they were going to do. They were providing scholarships, they were providing mentoring, a whole variety of different things. There's a new monthly newsletter, there's a podcast, all these things that they said the money was going to allow them to do, they've done, which is wonderful. That's what you want to see happen.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're doing amazing things and really, really making an impact with your clients. On the flip side, of course, every organization hits roadblocks along the way. What have been some of Amplify's biggest challenges as you've continued to grow and take on more clients?
So I think one of the big challenges is that client consultant relationship, and making sure that they really understand what the deliverables are. And so that's why, we're very, very clear with the deliverables, the timeline, when you're going to see things, so that we can continue to go back to it, and making sure that things remain in scope. We're also at a time where the demand for the work of the nonprofits far outstrips their ability to fund what they need to do. And so a lot of nonprofits want the money as quickly as possible, and they need the money as quickly as possible. And the money doesn't come that way. You really have to have that message. You have to have that case for support. You have to be able to clearly explain who you are, what you're doing, what your value add is, why you matter. And you need to have something that's compelling, that when prospects are going to look at, are going to say, I want to be a part of that. Yes, I want to be a part of that. And helping a lot of them with that stewardship, so that you don't lose them, so that, you don't have a donor who makes a 5 or 6 figure gift, and then the next time they hear from you is when you're asking for another 5 or 6 figure gift. You might get a second one in that case. And I emphasize might. If you do, you're not going to get a third one. And so you work too hard to lose those donors because you haven't done the right stewardship. So a lot of times the roadblocks are that way. And we see, like I said before, nonprofits they've always been understaffed, but even more understaffed now because of the economy and some of the challenges in finding the right people. And so it's hard to do the stewardship when you don't have enough people. It's hard to make sure that you're getting the statistics and the data when you don't have the right people, or if you want to outsource it, the cost to do it might be too expensive. But you don't have the right people to do it internally. So if you don't have the internal people to do it, and you can't afford to do it externally, and the donors demand it, it's a big challenge.
Absolutely. How do you go about doing all of that outreach and communication to keep that stewardship and personalization at the level that you need it to?
We spend a lot of time working with our clients on Zoom calls, at times with site visits, to sit face to face, not just on a Zoom, to really talk through everything, to really say, if this is what we want to accomplish, this is what we need. Earlier today, I was working with a client, and we were working on making their budgets really accurate, because, a lot of times nonprofits only put in the direct costs of a program, but
Mhm.
somebody has to turn the lights on. Somebody has to pay for all the operational costs that exist, and showing them and teaching them how to do that takes time.
Sure.
And this is a client that wants to learn and is very open. And so it's wonderful to work with them, because we have the opportunity to teach and to show them. And I did 2 sample ones and sent it to them to see, this is what it should look like, and this is what it's going to be, and give them assignments for them to do and get back to us. Because again, our job is not to do it for them forever. Our job is to do it for them while we're teaching them, so that they're able to do it without us in the future. And it's one of the unique things in consulting. And I think it sets Amplify apart from a lot of other ones who are only interested in holding on to their clients forever. And for us, success is when the client reaches the point that they say, we don't really need you for this anymore. They might need us for something else, which is wonderful. And if they don't, then great. When you reach your next point that you need help, come back to us.
Okay, so looking ahead a little bit, where do you want Amplify Partners to be 6 to 12 months from now? And what do you think would help get you there faster and more smoothly?
So I think there's a few different areas that are really big opportunities. I think that we've got more and more people who are successful and who want to be philanthropic, but don't necessarily know how to do it or how to do it well. And so it's an area that I think we're going to spend a lot more time focusing on and a lot more time working with those donors to help them figure out what their strategy is. How do they want to give their money? What do they want to see? Not just what we think necessarily or the industry says are the best practices, but what matters to you? What are the things that you really care about? Beginning to ask them questions. Do you want to go wide? Do you want to go deep? Do you want to make sure that you have enough money to give everybody a little, or do you only want to give a significant amount but to a smaller number so they can really do more impactful work? Neither is right, neither is wrong. It's about what the donor wants to actually accomplish. I think that there's a big opportunity for us in the interim space. There are a lot of organizations that are struggling and that are challenging or that are challenged in terms of how they're able to accomplish what they need to while they're looking for the right person. You see a lot of places with their job postings up for a long time, then they come down and then they're right back up a month or so later. We can provide that gap kind of staffing for them that they know they're going to get high quality product. They're going to know they're going to get accomplished what they need to have accomplished while they're looking for their long-term person. We're kind of like the pre-fired people. You don't have to worry about us. When you find the right person, we're there to help, and then we go away unless you want us for mentoring or guidance. And I think that there's a lot of organizations that are struggling with their governance and are struggling with what is our raison d'etre. How do we communicate our value to the potential donors? Because internally we believe it, we know it, we see it, we love it, and we're not communicating it well. And so how we can help them to communicate that better so that people know who they are, understand what they're doing, and want to invest with them.
Absolutely. And what do you think helps you get there or will help you get there faster to achieve that goal?
So one of the things that we do is with our clients is we have a whole discovery process that we go through with them. And as we're reaching this critical time with so much shifting, we've actually decided to do that for ourselves. So, it's not enough that we say, you need to go through this for you. We believe in what we say, we believe in what we do, so we're doing it ourselves. And I think that's helping us a great deal in identifying that for us so that our messaging can be crisp, can be clean, so that when an organization is looking and they don't know what they want, they just know that they need some sort of help, they'll see us and what we do and how we do it and see the value in it and say, I want to talk to them.
If we were to look back on your journey, what's one lesson you've learned that you wish you had known early?
So I think the most important lesson of them all is relationships really matter. And the time and the relationships that you develop are critical. And it doesn't mean that somebody's always going to choose you as, their service provider for help, but it's about the long-term relationships. And those long-term relationships are what pay off. It's what pay off, in the consulting world with clients, both past, present, and future. It's also what pays off for the organizations. That those relationships that they develop are what make the organization grow and flourish. And if you don't pay attention to the relationship, you will not succeed. That the reason donors often leave is not because the organization isn't doing the critical work that they fell in love with. It's that the relationship has shifted. They're not getting the feedback that they expect. They're not getting the reporting that they expect. They're not getting the stewardship that they expect. And those simple phone calls, the simple handwritten thank you notes. So many organizations don't send handwritten thank you notes. When you get a handwritten thank you note, it makes such an impression and makes such a big difference. And that's all relationship driven, that at the end of the day, the nonprofit world is all about relationships. And if you forget that, then you've really lost your way.
Absolutely. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Keith. I love what you and your team at Amplify are doing. Before we wrap up, where can people go to learn more about Amplify Partners or connect with you online?
Sure. Our website's amplifypartners.org. You can also email me, Keith at amplifypartners.org. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, so you can find me in either of those places as well. And happy to just have conversations. So there's no obligation. There are plenty of people who, hey, can you help me think through something? Can we talk about, what things might look? And so reach out. That's what we're here to help. Whether it turns into to us actually working together a long time or not, we're here to help.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for sharing your story and insights. And thanks to everyone listening and tuning in to The Growth Shift.